Paramecia is one of the 3 devil fruit types, being the most commonly found. This type of devil fruit allows the consumer to achieve one of a large variety of abilities that enable them to become superhuman or perform a superhuman feat. The term Paramecia was first used when Viper witnessed Luffy's devil fruit ability. The defining aspect of Paramecia fruit abilities is that they do not enable the user to transform into an animal like a Zoan or transform into a natural element like a Logia. Thus, Paramecias encompass a massive range of varying powers. That being said, just about every Paramecia ability can be placed in 3 general categories: altering the user's body, altering the environment, and generating a substance. Some fruits fall into one of these. Bodily alteration caused by Paramecia fruits comes in many forms. Some fruits permanently change the user's body composition. For example, the Gomu user will always have a rubbery body, and even if they are rendered unable to use their devil fruits, they will still stretch if acted upon by an outside force. Other Paramecia users can alter their body on command. Some users can transform certain body parts into other things, both organic and inorganic. Examples include the Buku no Mi user transforming the body part into a variety of weapons, and the Mana no Mi user transforming into other people. In most instances, abilities that transform body parts into inanimate objects do not make their bodies intangible like a Logia transformation. Alternatively, the user may be able to change a property of their body, such as the Suki no Mi, allowing the user to turn invisible, or the Hira no Mi, letting the user make their body ripple like a 2-dimensional flag. The Yomi no Mi is a special type of body-altering fruit, as it enables the user's soul to return to the world of the living after death and reanimates their body, with most of their energy and life force residing in their soul effect, resurrecting. The Mochi no Mi is called a special Paramecia. It is an exception to typical properties of a body-altering Paramecia, as it possesses abilities identical to a Logia, such as the user transforming into mochi, being blown apart by attacks only to reform, or keeping objects hidden within the substance of their body. The only known difference between this fruit and the Logia fruits is the substance the user transforms into is man-made rather than naturally occurring. Additionally, some Paramecia users can alter their bodies by interacting with the environment in a certain way. For example, the Baku no Mi user gains properties of anything they have eaten, and the Jacket fruit's purpose is for the user to be worn by someone else, and thus combining both individuals' strengths. Environmental alteration. Environmental altering Paramecias enable their user to achieve an unnatural effect on the environment. Some of these fruits work best on living organisms, some on inanimate objects, and others equally well on anything. Many of these users can alter something around by simply touching it, while others can produce a certain substance that is used to achieve the desired effect. For example, the Nora no Mi user slows things down by hitting them with a photon beam, while Tama uses the Kibi no Mi by pulling a piece of Kibidango from her body and feeding it to the animal. A few fruits can create a special zone in which the altering takes effect, such as the Ope Ope no Mi and Nagi no Mi. An environment altering user may gain a special level of control over a certain type of object, including objects that normal people would not be able to interact with. For example, the Kage no Mi user can grab people's shadows and cut them off with scissors, and the Buku no Mi user can perform supernatural actions with books, like levitating them, inserting people into them, and using their content to create illusions. Alternatively, The user might transform their body part to achieve the effect, such as the Haru no Mi user transforming their fingers into needles to inject hormones into somebody's body, and the Choki no Mi user transforming their arms into scissors to give objects they cut the properties of paper. Some body-altering Paramecia users can apply the alteration to the surrounding environment, usually by touching it. For example, the Hirahira no Mi user can make any object they touch ripple in addition to their own body. Several of these fruits can only extend their powers to inanimate objects, like the Fua Fua no Mi and the Pamu Pamu no Mi, although some can still affect other living beings, like the Suki Suki no Mi. Substance generation. Finally, some Paramecia fruits are capable of generating a specific substance. Many of these powers resemble Logia users' substance generation, by enabling the user to create a near limitless amount of their substance and shape it as desired. However, with the exception for the mochi no Mi, users of these fruits cannot transform their body into their respective properties like Logia users. Substances generated by Paramecia users are distinctive from those of Logia users, in that Paramecia generated substances are typically refined and man-made, including wax, string, and poison, whereas Logia substances naturally occur. Some fruits can even generate extremely refined objects, including food, such as biscuits and clothing. Few substance-generating fruits stand out from others, as the substance they create are unnatural with unique effects on the surrounding environment. Special generating fruits include the Bari no Mi, which can create impenetrable barriers with a maximum surface area, and the Hoya no Mi, which summons a genie to fight on the user's behalf. The Hara no Mi user can create ghosts with a large variety of effects on the environment, including allowing the user to see what the ghosts see and inflicting negative emotions on people they pass through. Additionally, some fruits generate real substances with unusual and sometimes supernatural properties. These substances include bubbles that can wash away the strength of anyone affected, straw that can deflect damage to others, mucus that is flammable, butter that is adhesive instead of slippery, and cream that can burn skin. By eating a Paramecia fruit, a person will receive a superhuman ability, allowing them to perform actions that would be impossible for a normal person to do, and in some instances survive events that would otherwise kill them. Many advantages granted by Paramecia fruits can be applied in battle, particularly the user is well trained with their fruits. The Guruguru no Mi is considered to be the strongest Paramecia fruit, having the ability to create massive shockwaves and tsunamis, possessing the power to potentially destroy the entire world. Its strength is considered on par with that of a Logia fruit. A few other conventional powerful Paramecia abilities include summoning gravity, creating explosions, and heavy poisoning. Some Paramecia fruits are capable of doing more than just harming enemies physically, such as the Hara no Mi, which can mentally subdue other people. If a user can alter the environment around them, they may be able to use outside objects to their benefit in battle, or have a particular advantage against a certain type of opponent. An example of this, the Sabi no Mi user is particularly dangerous against swordsmen due to their ability to instantly rust metal swords, as Zora found out. If a Paramecia user has an altered body, they may be able to play off their environment in ways that would normally be dangerous. Another example, the Gome no Mi user will be unharmed by any blunt impact. The Bara no Mi user is unaffected by cutting attacks, which will annoy a swordsman. And the Super no Mi user will have dangerous projectiles slip off them without causing harm. Certain Paramecia users' bodies will become immune to the effect of their powers, such as the Doku no Mi user being immune to touching poison, and to a lesser degree on consuming it. And the Buki no Mi, user being able to turn their entire body into a bomb and reform without issues after exploding. However, not every Paramecia user is granted this ability. A Paramecia fruit may also offer a valuable superhuman skill that goes beyond fighting. A prominent example is the Ope Ope no Mi, which was well reputed for being used by a certain doctor to perform a miraculous medical operation, and used by Trafalgar Law to cure his otherwise incurable Amber-Lead syndrome. The fruit also possesses the extreme application of granting someone eternal life, leading it to be classified as the ultimate devil fruit, with a hefty price tag too. Other examples of important non-combat fruit usage include the Chiu no Mi's magically healing wounds, the Fuku no Mi creating disguises, and the Guru no Mi allowing the user to fly in an odd fashion. Overall, many Paramecia users who have a large amount of experience and training with their fruit have shown the ability to use their fruits in a large variety of ways, both for combat and self-benefit. This is typically best seen with experienced users in the New World like Don Quixote de Flamingo and Big Mom. However, there are other people who have been shown using their fruit for a more limited purpose, but remain powerful in combat. Although Paramecia fruits, except for the mochi no Mi, do not enable the user to transform their bodies into substances, this means that, unlike Logia users, the substances Paramecia users generate are not considered part of their body. This means that attacking Paramecia users' generated substance with Bishoku Haki will do no harm to the user. This was exploited by Treble, who used the Beta no Mi to hide his body with the large amount of mucus, and tricking his opponents to always miss bizarrely skinny body because of all the mucus in the way. Skilled substance generating users, particularly ones capable of near infinite generation, have frequently increased their battle prowess by assembling a wide variety of creations with their substances, particularly golems directly fighting alongside or even in place of them, as well as ones they can inhabit. Awakening. Like all devil fruit abilities, Paramecia types can also be awakened, attaining the ability to use the devil fruits at a normal level of strength and in different manners than they originally could. Luffy notes that such a feat makes it no longer appear to be the power of a mere Paramecia. Usually, an awakened Paramecia allows the user to spread their power beyond their own body and transform or alter the properties of material around them to match the nature of their fruit. They can also manipulate the altered material in any way they desire. The transformation effect can be spread over a very wide area or be compressed into a single target. Doflamingo, after awakening the Ito no Mi, can extend his string creating ability, transmuting the ground and buildings into vast quantities of string that he can manipulate without even the need to touch them. Katakuri affects the environment in a similar way with his mochi no Mi during his battle with Luffy. The main difference between awakening and devil fruits that allow the user to transform and manipulate the environment in the unawakened stage, such as the Hira no Mi, is that awakening allows one to transform the environment from afar as well as control it with just their mind. Unawakened environment manipulating devil fruits require the user to touch what they wish to transform, and often requires bodily movement to be controlled. There are also certain cases where the awakening does not spread through the entire area or affect only inorganic materials. In these cases, the awakening simply allows the user to utilize more advanced abilities than they did previously. Kid, for example, has shown the ability to bestow magnetism onto other people, turning them into living magnets that attract all metal, and can even imbue inverse magnetic polarities to non-metallic targets to force an attraction between them. Trafalgar Law, with his opopnomy, can apply the essence of his room technique into objects such as his sword, turning it into a miniature operating room from which he can operate through, and also create operating fields that manifest different effects on some things. Weaknesses. Paramecia is the only class of devil fruit that contains fruits with little to no use in battle. In contrast to Zoans, which are suitable for close combat, and Logias, whose transformations grant a massive offensive and defensive power boosts. The Toki no Mi is a notable fruit with no known offensive capability, as it can only cause objects to travel through time. Other Paramecia fruits have only been shown to be useful against enemies with an advanced application of the power or strategic usage of it. The Yomi no Mi is an example of the former, as Brooke was never able to use it in battle until becoming able to summon the chills of the underworld to freeze outside objects. The Chiu no Mi's only known instance of inhibiting others was when Mancheri drew the blood of willing marines that turned into healing dandelions, which drained their energy as part of the Tantatus tribe's plot against them. Additionally, whether or not Paramecia users effectively use their powers can often depend on what environment they're in. The Jacket fruit and the Gacha no Mi both revolve around combining multiple people's abilities, have little use if there is no other person to operate with the user. For the most part, a Paramecia ability cannot sustain a user in high-level combat by itself. Even if it is useful in battle, just about every powerful Paramecia user has developed a variety of combat skills and acquired weapons to utilize alongside their powers. And Paramecia users that have demonstrated few abilities other than their devil fruit typically be easily beaten by a member of the former groups. Paramecia abilities can frequently be highly complex and tricky for the user to grow accustomed to, so special training is frequently needed to hone the fruit's ability effectively. One prominent example is the Gomu no Mi, as Luffy was initially unable to effectively throw a punch while stretching his arm, and needed to train for several years to perform effective long-ranged attacks. If used improperly or carelessly, a Paramecia ability can be dangerous to its user and any allies the user has around them, especially if the ability is extremely powerful and destructive by nature. This was most prominently seen with the Gorgoro no Mi, which can be extremely dangerous to friends and foes alike, as once an earthquake is created, anyone in the affected area will fall victim to the ground shifting, as well as the potential arrival of tsunamis. The Zushi no Mi is capable of using gravity to pull or push an object to a certain distance, but it does not give the user any protection from those said objects. Particularly, objects that they might pull down to their vicinity, like meteorites. The Shibo no Mi can allow the user to absorb liquid and become bigger and heavier, but this may make them unsuitable for their environment, being too big, even more so if they're on top of a ship. Some Paramecia abilities can apply their effects to the user themselves, with a prominent instance being when Luffy was able to slow Foxy down by reflecting his Noro no Mi beam back at him. Paramecia abilities, particularly environmentally altering ones, typically have some sort of limitation, which can at times be arbitrary. An environment altering fruit may only affect inanimate objects, an effect created by a fruit ability may only last for a short time. A body altering user can typically only alter their body by a certain amount, and the users who can generate a special substance might be limited to the amount they can generate, such as the Barbarinomi having a maximum barrier size. Some of these fruits' limits can be expanded by training, while others are always in effect. Thus, it can often be important when fighting a Paramecia user to determine the limits of their fruit and exploit it. Some fruits that affect living organisms can be limited depending on a trait of the organism. For example, the Hororornomi's negative hollows cannot affect a person who is already negative, while the Mirrorinomi does not work against anyone who has no lustful feelings towards the user. Some fruits are officially considered superior to others because they possess similar abilities but fewer limitations. Examples of this: the Kilokilonomi user can make the weight a maximum of 10,000 kilograms, while the Tontonomi user can increase their weight to thousands of metric tons. Additionally, the Superhuman is inferior to the Bukibukinomi because the former can only generate blades on the body, while the latter can generate blades in addition to any other weapon. However, having a superior devil fruit does not automatically make the user superior in combat. Except for the Mochi Nomi, Paramecia fruits do not allow the user to transform into an intangible substance. Thus, they cannot phase through attacks like Logia users can. Caesar Clown reacted dismissively to Magellan's Paramecia Dokudokunomi in comparison to his own Logia, the gas fruit. As though Magellan can create a larger variety of poisons, he can transform his body into a poison. Although he can create a measure of self-defense by coating his body in poison, his flesh and blood body is always present and will be injured if anyone strikes it. In contrast, Caesar can use his Logia fruit to create poisonous gas in addition to turning his own body into gas, which will cause any attack not imbued with Shokuhaki to pass through it, or sea prism stone. When Basil Hawkins took the form of a giant straw scarecrow, Kizaru was able to quickly damage his real body because it was only covered in straw, not transforming it. Although Treble was able to hide his skinny body in a large mass of mucus and have a higher chance of avoiding attacks, he was immediately injured once Law was able to unleash an attack that struck his body under the mucus. The Kirakuronomi's ability to turn the user's exterior body into diamonds heavily resembles a Logia transformation, but has its differences, as the user will be impacted by attacks that can break through or circumvent their diamond defense. They can't generate diamonds, as they can't reform severed body parts. Certain devil fruits may tax the user's stamina, especially after heavy use. After creating biscuits on a constant basis for 11 hours, Cracker was shown to be growing very tired. In order to maintain his room with the Opopnomi, Law's stamina is drained, and long-term activation of room can come at a cost to the user's lifespan. Certain advanced devil fruit applications can also shorten a user's lifespan, such as Chiuchiunomi's user using the advanced ability to restore inanimate objects. The most extreme example of this is the Opopnomi's Eternal Youth operation, where the user will immediately die upon giving someone eternal life. The effect and creation of environment-altering and substance-generating fruits may cease to exist if the user is knocked unconscious or is severely injured. Thus, if a Paramecia user seeks to create or maintain a long-term effect, they and their allies must be cautious about attempting to take them out and undo the effect. This was promptly seen with Sugar, who used the Hobby Nomi to turn people into toys over a 10-year span, and this effect was instantly broken when she was knocked out by Usopp. Additionally, some fruit abilities may be manifested regardless of whether the user wants them to be, such as when Giola was able to force Mancheri to use the Chiu-Chiu by hitting her and causing her healing tears to fall. Paramecia users with specially transformed bodies, such as the Gomu-Gomu and Mochi users, may provide susceptible to Bishoku Haki imbued attacks, such like a Logi user, and can thus be injured by Haki attacks that would normally not hurt them. Some trivia. Paramecia are a species of microbes that flourish in water, unlike devil fruit users who lose their abilities in water. The word Paramecia is a Greek word that means fairy tales. Non-canon logos can be considered special paramecias because they allow their user to transform into an artificial element rather than natural ones, such as an unidentified liquid, paper, and candy syrup.